Good morning. This is Pastor Mark Wilhelm with West County Lutheran Church here in the greater St. Louis area. And this is the final of our Advent devotions here on this Christmas Eve, 2021. And on an unseasonably warm day, I'm out here on the back porch, and we have this beautiful, unusual weather. And for us, the word for the Lord comes from Isaiah chapter 9, beginning in verse 2. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in the land of deep darkness, on them light has shone. You have multiplied the nation, you have increased its joy. They rejoice before you, as with joy at the harvest, as they are glad when they divide the spoil. For the yoke of his burden and the staff for his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, you have broken as in the day of Midian. For every boot, the tramping warrior in battle tumult, and every garment rolled in blood will be burned as fuel for the fire. For to us a child is born. To us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end. On the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Everything about this text challenges the way most of us address problems in life. When we encounter a challenge, we encounter a problem, we first, and it's very natural for us to, but we first begin to assess, what are we going to do? How are we going to think about or frame this particular problem or this particular challenge? We start with our resources and we work from there. But for all the good that we can do that way, our own efforts, our own ability to frame the problem or to come up with a strategy to deal with something are utterly inadequate to deal with the problem that we ultimately have. And in today's gospel we see, or today's lesson from Isaiah, we see the gospel, I keep saying the word gospel, pardon me, the prophet keeps stating that God's doing something. God is giving, God is establishing, God is declaring. God gives a son. God gives a child to be born. And God makes and upholds peace. Because the ultimate solution is our estrangement from God and from one another. The ultimate challenge before us is our inability to make life work on our own terms. We want to live life on our own terms, but it always comes up empty. It never satisfies. We imagine that we can perform our way into God's favor, whether we admit it out in the open or we just sort of secretly believe it. But ultimately, our only hope is found in Christ, the child who was given, the son who was given, someone from the throne of David who establishes peace and declares it forever. The solution for all that humankind needs doesn't come from our cleverness. It comes ultimately from what God offers, what God initiates, what God establishes. For today, we celebrate a son who was given to us, a child who was born. And this Jesus, he is truly the one. He is truly the way, the life, and the truth. He is the one who establishes all things and makes all things right with us and with God. God's initiative is what saves. God's action decisively for us is what saves. And that is what Christmas is for and about as we celebrate. So I hope these devotions have been helpful in some way. It's been something that I've experimented with to see if I want to keep doing it or not. But most of all, I just hope that as I've read the Word to you, there have been a moment or two where you've encountered God in the midst of that. So have a Merry Christmas and a great New Year.